Hi. Hello guys, welcome back. I am so excited to be here today, to be sitting down, to be talking to you guys again. It has been a minute since you've seen my face, and to just keep it short and sweet, I just needed a little break. That's all it was. I have been really overwhelmed the last few months. I just got to a point where I was kind of like burnt out. I was just so stressed out, so overwhelmed between working my full-time job during the day and then trying in the evening to work a full-time job as an author, finishing up my third novel, Between the Blue, which is coming out January 10th, and then trying to read multiple books a week, upload content on multiple social media platforms. I was going through it. I needed to take a step back. I needed to prioritize finishing my book. Also, I had just read so many books over the last few months that just like weren't doing it for me, and I feel like a lot of people that I know personally, like through social media, have been going through that. There's just been like a phase of like books that have been really popular on Book Talk that like I've been wanting to read, and then I read them and I'm just disappointed. Like I was DNFing left and right, and it got to a point where I just like felt like I was reading because I had to read, and like I was forcing myself to get through books, and I was just like, you know what, like the second that happens to me, I'm like, you just need to take a step back. Like reading is supposed to be for fun. It's supposed to be for enjoyment. Like this is not a job. Like this is my hobby. This is my joy. This is what I love. So if I ever feel like I'm not loving it, like I just need to take a break and step back. So that is what I did. I literally finished up my novel, Between the Blue, yesterday. Like yesterday, signed, sealed, delivered. It is done, and I'm already back. I'm already back here and talking to you guys because this is seriously my favorite thing to do. And I just wanted to catch up with you guys because like I said, I haven't really been reading the last like about 6 weeks. I kind of took a break, which is like the longest break from reading I have taken maybe ever. I mean, I have been reading here and there, but just like not to the extent that I usually do. So I just wanted to catch up with you guys and let you know like what I have been reading, what I have read since we last talked, just kind of have like a chit-chatty little moment here at the end of the year. I couldn't start a new year without coming in and saying hi to you guys. So yeah, that is what we are doing. Let's just get into it. And look, my babies are here with me. They wanted to join. Little baby Kiwi and a little baby Draco. They're gonna get annoyed with me and leave definitely in the next like 2 minutes, so enjoy them while they're there. But yeah, let's just get into it. So back in October, at the origin of what started my little mini reading slump, right before that I read a couple of books by Sally Rooney, and I am just so fascinated by Sally Rooney. She's such an interesting author with such a particular style. I read Normal People by her, which I made an entire video rambling on about this book for an extensive amount of time. So if you want to go see all of those thoughts, you can definitely go watch that. But Normal People is a book that like I had a feeling about. I just knew it was going to be one that I was really going to love. I started it a couple of years ago and something happened. I had to take a pause on it, and then I finally returned to it. But I just knew it had been sitting on my shelf, and I was like, something about that book, I just think it's going to do something for me. I think I'm really going to connect to it, and I absolutely did. This book is just so interesting. I feel like Sally Rooney in general, like her style, she writes books about relationships, but they're not really romance books. Like they're just straight up literary fiction, and she does it so well. Her characters feel so raw, so real, and that is totally how I felt about Normal People. Like this story is just about a relationship between this girl named Marianne and this guy named Connell, and you know, the course of their relationship through high school and on to university and sort of beyond that, and just what they go through individually and sort of as a couple. They're sort of like in and out of this relationship, and they go through lots of things in their personal lives and together. And there were probably a dozen quotes in this book that I just read and went, oh my God, like that I'm still thinking about now. I just related to both of these characters so much, and her books just have these sort of endings that are very kind of open. Like her stories don't really have like a particular start or a particular end, and some people hate that. Like it's either going to be your thing or you're gonna absolutely hate it, but I absolutely loved it. Normal People for sure is one of my favorite reads of this year, and I just know like it's gonna be one of those books that is going to live on my shelf forever. Like it's gonna be one of those ones that I'm gonna want to go back, reread, annotate, and yeah, I just loved it. So because I loved it so much, I ended up reading Conversations with Friends by Sally Rooney, which it's funny because it's really similar to Normal People, but it's also really different. It also is just kind of a book that follows the course of a relationship, but this one is a lot more complicated because it follows this main character and she has this best friend. I'm like blanking on what her name is. Her best friend's name is Bobby. I think her name is Frances, the main girl. I'm almost positive that's right. But they were friends in high school and they actually ended up dating each other and they had a relationship for a while, but now since they've broken up, but they're still the best of friends and they've gone on to college together. And this story is basically about the two of them and their relationship that they form with this married couple. They end up sort of befriending this couple and each of the girls kind of forms a bond and has a bit of an affair with the husband and the wife. And it's just like, again, the course of their relationship, like them sort of coming in and out of each other's lives and their individual issues that they have, their issues together. And it just feels very real. I read this book in like 2 days. I couldn't put it down. Like both of her books that I've read, it's just, there's not like much of a plot to them, but also they're so hard to put down because you just like, you feel very connected to these characters. You almost feel like they're your friends, like they're telling you this story and you're like watching their lives and you're just like, where does it go? Like what happens? And yeah, I really liked Conversations with Friends, but I didn't love it as much as Normal People. Like it was a very easy read for me. I, again, like didn't want to put it down, but Normal People just hit different and I'm still thinking about it. I really want to read, Sally Rooney has one more full-length novel. I think it's called Beautiful World, Where Are You? Or something like that. I definitely plan to read that in the next like month. So I want to make like a full video where I kind of just break down all 3 of her novels and, you know, kind of rank them and just say their similarities and differences and yeah, just like ramble on about her writing for a long time because you guys know I can do that. So definitely be on the lookout for that in the beginning of the year. So next is where my problem kind of began. I had 3 books in a row that I was really looking forward to reading that just really let me down and it sucked. But the first one was Lotus by Jennifer Hartman. You guys might remember earlier in this year I read Still Beating by Jennifer Hartman and I absolutely loved it. I thought it was great. I made, again, a whole video like rambling on about how much I loved it, how like dark and fascinating and gripping it was, and I just thought it was so good. And Lotus is a sort of spin-off of Still Beating. It exists in the same world, so I thought I was going to equally love it. I just like felt like Jennifer Hartman was going to be my new author. I was just like really excited about her, and I don't want to like say that I don't love her as an author or anything like that. Like I'm not making that claim because I've only read, well, actually, I don't know, because I read another book by her earlier this year too that I didn't love either. So I don't know if Still Beating was just like a one-hit wonder sort of situation for me, but regardless, I'd heard a lot of good things about Lotus. I was excited to jump into it and it just didn't really do it for me. This whole kind of world of Still Beating, like all of these books are kind of like these dark romances about people that have a lot of trauma. And so in this story, it is about this girl and this guy that grew up living next door to each other and they were best friends, and whenever they were little kids, they were like 5 I think, the boy actually ends up getting kidnapped and he's never seen again, and now like many years have passed, like they're full-blown adults, like I think late 20s now, and nobody knows what happened to the boy. Like they assume that he was killed, his body was never found, but the girl has like dreamed about her friend ever since, like always just wonders what happened to him. Like it broke her heart whenever he left. It's like really affected her and it's made her afraid to lose people. She kind of has like abandonment issues from it, even though like he didn't abandon her, but like he got taken. Like it's really affected her. But now it turns out this entire time he's been alive. He's been underground, he was kidnapped and he was kept there, and he was made to believe that the world, like, I think he thought that like an atomic bomb hit or something. He thought that something happened where he couldn't come out and like be in the world, and like his captor had like made him think this, and so but finally he ends up just escaping and he realizes that the world has in fact not ended. It's not like a dystopian future, and this entire time he's just been kidnapped. And so because he was kidnapped at such a young age, like he hasn't developed a lot in some ways, but in other ways, like he's been reading books his entire life. He's been stuck in the cellar. He's had nothing to do but read. So he's very educated, but he's also like socially awkward. It's very interesting. And like when the book started out, I was very intrigued by the concept, because now like this guy and this girl are reuniting. Like she thought her friend was dead and he's not now. And it's, you know, it's kind of their like second chance romance, even though they were kids the first time. I was so intrigued by the concept, and it started out so strong, but it just didn't do much for me, and it made me so sad because I don't know, like something about the guy, because again, he's so educated from reading so many books, he talks very like proper, and it was really kind of cute at first, but then it just got kind of like tiring, and like a lot of the story is just her like teaching him about sexual things and them trying that kind of stuff out, and they love each other so much, but she has like these major issues from losing him early on, so she's like very hesitant to love again. It just didn't feel like there was much of a plot to it. It sounds like there's a big plot, like the concept is so interesting, but there just like wasn't much of a story outside of the concept, if you know what I mean. And I just ended up DNFing it at like 80%. Like I went into it so strong, like the first like 15-20% I was like, oh, I'm here for this, like I'm really excited, and the spice was good, but it just like, I don't know what it was. I think because it was kind of like an insta love. I really don't like when books are like insta love and the only thing keeping each other apart is like you just refusing to be together. Do you know what I mean? I don't know, because there's a lot of books that are like that I do like, but it has to be done a certain way. Like there's a very like particular balance to it, and this one just like didn't hit for me. And by the time the two of them were just kind of together, I'm like, okay, like I don't know, I ended up DNFing it, and I just don't really. Also, there was just like a lot of trauma. That's another thing that I forgot. Oh my gosh, like there's a big plot twist in the book that is just like, holy shit, trauma dump, like trauma, what? Like, oh my god, just like, and it felt like it was just trying to be like as shocking as possible. It kind of reminded me of Hopeless by Colleen Hoover, if you've ever read that. So anyways, just all in all, I didn't end up loving it, and it was just such a letdown because I really thought I was going to love it. And so from there, I ended up saying like, okay, the next book that I read, like I want it to be something that I absolutely love. Like I want to be, you know, just like very into it. Like I felt myself slipping into a slump. So I started to read Wolf Song by TJ Klune, which has been such a highly anticipated read for me, and it's such a beautiful cover. Sorry guys, I'm being lazy. The books are on my shelf, some of them, but I'll just put pictures here. But Wolf Song, sorry, knocking my table around. Wolf Song by TJ Klune is a book that I was really looking forward to reading, and I don't know, I don't want to say that I've like DNF'd it for good, but I just don't think it was for me. This book, it's about werewolves, as you might be able to tell, and as much, like, I don't know, in the simplest way to describe it, it's kind of like Twilight if the focus was on simply werewolves. It's like about this boy that's from this very small town that grew up, you know, very sort of awkward and kind of nerdy, and he ends up befriending this family very much like Twilight, like the Cullens, like comes back to town, and they're very well known in this town, but they went away for a long time, but now they're back, and he ends up befriending, he lives next door to this family, and this boy that's like 10 years old at the time runs into him, and he's like 16 at the time, and he, you know, wants to be his friend and like wants him to come over and hang out with the family, and so he ends up being friends with the family, and you kind of see his relationship with that family like over time kind of grow, and this family is like a family of werewolves. That's not a spoiler, it's like pretty obvious, but yeah, essentially it's like the boy sort of like imprints on the guy, and the easiest way to explain it, like kind of like Twilight in the way that, you know, like Jacob imprints on Renesmee. It's like, okay, we're not like in love early on, it's like we're mated, like we're like soulmates, and we're meant to be together, but like when you're young, like it's not weird because it's just like I'll always protect you sort of thing. Like it's kind of that sort of story, and I don't even want to talk too much on it because I didn't read that much of the book. Like I think I read like 40%, maybe. And I just, for the life of me, like I really thought the writing was so beautiful. TJ Klune has this very particular writing style. It almost reminds me of Jessa Hastings in a way, but not. Like, I don't know, it's like very simple but very beautiful at the same time. So that really kept me in the story. Like I want to read more by TJ Klune, but something about this book just icked me out because like obviously they end up together, but it just bothered me. And like, look, I am no like prude, you guys know I read like taboo weird things, like big fan of that kind of stuff. But for me, when like anything that feels like grooming-esque is like in a story that's not meant to be taboo, this sounds so bad. It makes me uncomfortable. And the fact that this guy was like 16 and he met this boy, I think he was actually like 9 when they met. And like, then they kind of grow up, and then magically the kid is like 17 and the other guy's like older now, and he one day is just like attracted to him, and they just like start dating, and like, but there's never like a separation in there by the time that happens. So it just really weirded me out, because they met when he was like a little kid, and he sees him grow up, and now they're like dating. Like, something about it just made me really uncomfortable. And from what I understand, I think there is like a separation that happens, and then when the two of them actually like come back together, they're older. So like, I get that that's, I don't know, but I just didn't get to that part because I just couldn't get past it. It just made me like really uncomfortable is the only way I can think to explain it. And some of the dialogue was just like, I don't know, it kills me, because like, I know people that love this book, and like one of my best friends absolutely loved this book. So I don't want to say I'm necessarily giving up on it forever, because I wanted to love it so bad. The cover's so beautiful, but I just couldn't. Like, it got to the point where I was like finishing a chapter, and I was just like, oh, like I just want to put it down. Like, I'm not into it. I don't want to read it. And it was just giving me the heebie-jeebies. I don't know how else to say it, but yeah. So I DNF'd Wolf Song by TJ Klune, but I really want to read The House by the Cerulean Sea, The House of the Cerulean Sea, whatever it is. I want to read that book really badly. I have it on my shelf. Like, I haven't given up on TJ Klune. And if you guys have read Wolf Song and you loved it, like, convince me to finish it, because I want so badly to love it. I want to, but I don't know why I couldn't. I don't know. And then my third and final DNF before I just stopped kind of reading for a while was The Coldest Touch, and I'm the worst because I didn't even write down who the author was. I'll look it up while I'm talking. This is a very formal video today. Can you guys tell? The Coldest Touch by Isabel Sterling. I tried to read this right before Halloween because I was in like the Halloween mood. I wanted to read something that kind of had like those fun seasonal spooky vibes. And this was a sapphic romance, a sapphic like YA type of romance, essentially between, I'm like, how do I best explain this? Basically, this girl is in high school, and very Vampire Diaries-esque. She ends up getting in like an accident with her brother. Her brother's like picking her up from something. And I think, if I remember correctly, literally like Vampire Diaries, their car like goes into the water and her brother ends up drowning. And she feels this like immense guilt because he was like coming to pick her up, and that's the only reason he died. So she witnesses him dying, and ever since then, she has this thing where anybody that she touches, she sees their death happening. Like, she sees their final moments of life, and she kind of like feels it. So it's like obviously very traumatic. Like, every time her parents like touch her, she like sees her parents dying and her friends and whoever. And like, some people, they die young, they die old, whatever it might be. Like, and it's, I don't know, it has like interesting aspects to it, because like, she has in the story, and again, not really a spoiler, it's like right in the beginning, but she has like this guy that she's dating, and when he touches her, she sees his final moments, and like, they're not with her, they're with somebody else. So it's like, it really affects her. So it's like, okay, like, let's not even bother dating, even though I'm literally in love with you. We don't need to date because like, we don't end up together, you know? So it's a very interesting sort of thing that she has, and it has her very kind of depressed and isolated. And so the story is like about her, and then it's about this vampire girl that gets sent to basically come and find her because she's on this sort of like paranormal council of sorts. It like reminded me of the Volturi a little bit. I don't know how else to explain it. And they want her like for her powers, and I don't know. So, but it ends up being like a sapphic romance between the two of them. And there's kind of like a whole twist to it, because like when they meet each other, like she pretends to go to her high school, and the girl ends up like touching like her teacher and sees that like her death is how she looks now. Like, it's happening soon, obviously. So it's kind of like a bit of a mystery of like what's going on. And then she starts seeing like she starts predicting other murders that happen. So that was kind of the story. And I don't know, again, in the beginning, I was into it because the concept sounded interesting, but it just wasn't for me. It was just very YA. It was very kind of like, it was just too young adult. I just think I'm too old, guys. Like, I think some of these books I'm trying to read, I'm just like too old to get into. And like, I don't know, the romance just like wasn't doing, it just didn't like grip me is all I'm trying to say. You know, I was really trying to read it, and I found myself kind of like trudging through it. It was one of those times again where I was just like, I'm not in the mood to read this, and I feel like I'm like forcing myself to read it, and like that's no fun, so let's not do that. And pretty much after that, I didn't read for several weeks. The last thing that I did read was I listened to the audiobook Peter Pan by J.M. Barrie. Actually, I'm gonna get up and grab this book, so hold on. So like I was saying, I listened to the audiobook of the original Peter Pan story told by J.M. Barrie, however you say it, because I was doing homework given to me by my mother, Jessa Hastings, queen of my heart, favorite author probably ever. I don't know, I love her so much, but she had this book coming out. Here it is, because it's out now, called Never, and it is a Peter Pan retelling. This was my most highly anticipated read of the year. It was coming out early December, and she had told everyone, like, make sure you read the original Peter Pan story by J.M. Barrie before this comes out, because like that is the version of the story that this book is like kind of based on, and like the retelling is done. So I was like, ma'am, yes ma'am, I'm going to listen to that, and I did, and it was good. I mean, it was very much like the Peter Pan that I grew up with. I know a lot of people watched like the live action one with like the boy and was very in love with him. I know this is crazy for me to say, never watched that. I was really so obsessed with the animated version of Peter Pan, which I think was it Disney? I assume it was Disney. I probably watched that like 5,000 times. I'm not even joking. I was in love with Peter Pan growing up. Like that movie was just everything to me. I was in love with that cartoon character. Everyone was in love with that real life boy. Never watched him. I watched the cartoon a million times. So when I heard that Jessa Hastings, the author of the Magnolia Park series, which I just adore, was writing a Peter Pan retelling, like my jaw hit the floor. I was like, I have never been so excited for anything in my life. So I wanted to be prepared. I wanted to do the homework. So I listened to Peter Pan in preparation for this, and it was good. It was basically how I expected. It was really similar to the animated version. I think that real life, like the live action version, is a little bit different, because she was really telling people like over and over, if that's the only version you know, like you're gonna be a little bit like confused when you read this, and like you're gonna be kind of like taken aback a little bit. So I don't know what the differences are, but yeah, I wasn't that shocked by the J.M. Barrie version. But yeah, as you probably are able to tell, after reading that, I read this. This book has been waiting for me. It has been like sitting on this pedestal. I knew it was gonna be my comeback to reading. Like I said, it was my most highly anticipated read of the entire year. Like the late nights where I was finishing up Between the Blue, like finishing up my book, I was just thinking, dreaming of the day that I was gonna get to read Never, because I was like, this is what's waiting for me. So I obviously read it, and look, I'm making an entire video on it. My next video on this channel is going to be an entire, probably 25-minute ramble talking about this book, because I have so many things to say, and that's all I'm gonna say about it right now. We just have to look at the cover though for a second. This is the most beautiful book cover that I own. That being said, I just will say this book is not what I thought it was gonna be. And if you're plugged in at all to the book community, to the Jessa Hastings community, you might know that there's kind of like a lot of drama surrounding this book. So I will talk about all of that. The release of it just definitely was not what I think anyone thought it was gonna be, especially Jessa Hastings. And yeah, I have things to say. Good things and bad things and a lot of things in between. So definitely, if you're interested at all, go and watch that. It's gonna be full of spoilers, because like there's just simply no way to talk about it without that. But anyways, yeah, so I read Never, and that's the last book that I've read this year so far. If you guys want to know like what I'm reading right now and what I'm gonna be reading, it is like the final week of December. So it's funny, I've been seeing so many people posting their top reads of 2023, like literally starting December 1st, and it triggers me, it irks me, it like pisses me off, frankly. That's dramatic, but like, the year isn't over. What are you talking about? Like, why on December 1st are you posting your tops of the year? Like, every single year, one of my favorite books, it never fails that a book in my top 10 of the year is a book that I read like during Christmas. Like, I always get so much reading in during that time, because it never fails. Like, I have a family vacation, I have something where I'm stuck in the car, and that's happening again this year. We are driving to Colorado from Texas. It's a 15-hour drive. I'm gonna be reading in that car. And like, I read, you know, like when I'm on vacation, like at night, like when I'm with my family, like I read so much during Christmas, and I always end up finding a book I absolutely love. So I'm like, I am not posting my top 10 of 2023 until January 1st. It is not happening, because like, you just never know. I don't know, literally no one cares. But why was I even going on this rant? I don't remember. Anyways, what am I talking about? The next book that I'm planning to read, guys, I feel like a crackhead right now. Like, why did I go on that whole rant? I don't know. But I just started reading this book, One's Company. Do you want to see my bookmark? This is a whole nother subject. Don't get me started. Jacob Elordi and Saltburn literally stabbed me with a knife. I could talk about that movie. I could make a whole video talking about that movie. That's not what this channel is about. Incredible cinematography. In love with Jacob Elordi, but that's not even why I'm obsessed. Anyways, what is happening? I'm reading One's Company by Ashley Hudson, and funny enough, guys, I have a whole damn story about this book. This book has been sitting on my shelf for almost a year now. I picked it up because the cover is obviously beautiful. Like, I was so intrigued by it, and don't call me uneducated, but I was kind of reading the back, and it was talking about how this girl, this woman basically like wins the lottery, and she's very depressed, has gone through some rough stuff, and she decides like she loves this show called Three's Company, and she pretty much decides like, screw it, I have all the money in the world, I'm going to turn my life into Three's Company. I'm just going to escape into this. I'm going to binge watch this show. I'm going to literally recreate the apartment that is in the show, like all the sets. Like, I am going to live the life of Three's Company. And I was like, oh my God, what a cute concept. Like, I am such like an escapist. Like, that's something I would do. And look, I had never heard of Three's Company. Three's Company is a real show. It's a real show. It was a show that was in the 70s, wildly popular. I just had never heard of it. And so I ended up like looking at the acknowledgements when I read it, and I saw her being like, and most of all, like, thank you to Three's Company for getting me through so like hard times. And I was like, what? Like, it's a real show. Long story short, I decided, I put this book on my shelf, and I was like, I'm gonna watch every episode of Three's Company before I read this book, because I want to be able to appreciate it. And that is what I did. This year, I watched every episode of Three's Company, and I love that show so much. Like, it has been such a fun little journey. Just like when I'm eating, whatever, I just like throw on an episode, because they're short, you know, they're just so funny. And Suzanne Summers just died like last month, and it freaking, this is such a like rant nobody asked for. But anyways, I fell in love with the show, and so now I'm so excited because I'm finally gonna read the book, and I'm gonna get to appreciate it, and like even just start, like I'm only like 2 chapters in, and like all the little references she's saying, I'm like, I would have no idea what she was talking about if I didn't read that show. So anyways, this is my next little book that I'm reading, and I'm very, very excited about it. And then after that, guys, I am taking on the undertaking. I'm afraid. I'm a little afraid. I don't know if I'm ready for it. I'm gonna read Binding 13. Like I said, I have a very long car ride, and I'm starting Binding 13. I'm gonna do it, the Boys of Tommen series. I just have a feeling. I have a feeling that this series is gonna be like a new obsession of mine. Like, Magnolia Parks is my favorite series, but I think this series is like similar but so different in the way that it's like, you know, about like this friend group and all these like different like relationships and inner workings, and like it's such a long, extensive story with like multiple books and points of views and whatever. And I have a friend that really, really loves it, and I just, everything she said about it, I'm just like, I'm afraid this rabbit hole, like, oh, I think I'm gonna be obsessed. So those are my plans. Like, that is what I've been reading. That is what I'm gonna be reading. Yeah, I don't know what the hell this video was. It was just a fun little catch up, and it's like something that I needed, and just sitting here and talking to you guys has been so fun. Like, I've missed this so much, and I'm so excited for 2024. I'm so excited to have like a better balance in my life. I'm gonna make sure that I have time to read and make these videos, because this is like my therapy in a lot of ways. You guys are like my friends. Like, I love sitting down and talking to you, so I don't want to miss out on this part of my life because I'm like stressing myself out, like trying to do too much. I love writing too, obviously. Like, that's my greatest, like, that's what like fuels my fire. Like, that's my passion. Like, I love writing, but it's a lot. It's a lot to try to like write heavily and work a full-time job and try to do this. So I just like, I need to like allow myself to just chill out. I need to chill out. I need to just balance it all and be better about that and not stress myself out. And yeah, that's all it is. So 2024 is the year of balance. I hope you guys live by that as well. Anyways, I've missed you so much. This has been so much fun. If you watched to the end, thank you. I love you, and I will talk to you very soon. Bye.